He might have stopped.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. It looked like my bandwidth went red. I just went to go grab a drink for a second ago. I just came back and I just saw that. Now the bandwidth is green lit again, but yeah, it's looking like it says stream finished on YouTube. Let me just refresh that page, see if it came back.
Frodo says Twitch just came back.
Yeah, but I don't know about YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube just came back.
YouTube just came back.
The commercial's up.
Yeah, but it's weird. Like on the page that it was on.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's your next video is what came up.
Yeah.
Yeah, stream finished on YouTube.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess we could maybe try to stop the stream and start again. See if that fixes it.
Sure. I mean, if they can't see it on YouTube right now, might as well.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and stop the stream and start over again here in just a second. So now Frodo,
Wait, it says YouTube is back.
Yeah. Let's see if I try to pull it up on. I might just not see it on the studio page anymore.
Frodo said YouTube came back.
Okay.
And it says live.
Jim Gary says, I see it here through Facebook. All right. Yeah, it says live, but you probably have to refresh the YouTube page. All right, we'll just keep going. All right, yay. Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
That's all right, man.
So are you working on Image Master next, Chet, or do you have a list of programs you're trying to do this with? Or
Yeah, the only three that I'm really concerned with is getting Image Master and Studio 29, getting those two. Just as someone, I really don't care too much about the rest of the stuff that I worked with, but those were kind of part of a trio package because there was those in the game board editor which were all used, and I'd like to recover the source code for that. And the good thing though is that the code from Digger actually contains code from both of those games. Not a whole lot, but a small part. And then there's some common functionality that was in there, and then there's actually so much carried forward into Digger 3. So I've actually got a way to detect those different signatures in the disassemblies. So I'll actually have somewhat of a starting point for some functionality, and then there's others I'll just have to actually struggle through. I'm sure I don't imagine either one of those is going to go nearly as quickly as Digger 1 did, because I'm not going to have that that base to go on. I'm going to have to figure everything else out. Knowing what the variables were, and being able to associate those was real critical to the disassembly because it made it a lot quicker.
yeah, I was surprised at how fast you got it done, even with the source code in there. So
yeah, and the info file is like 1,200 lines or 1,100 lines long, so it's pretty detailed in breaking all of that stuff down. So I'm going to include that along with a couple of the different things. So next I've got because I can build an identical image. I haven't run it yet. I mean, obviously if it's identical, I don't need to, but I want to change the origin and do some tests so that just to kind of make sure that just a few bytes to make sure that everything is still working and all that. That's going to be the last test to that.
okay, cool. Look forward to seeing the source code for that up there for people to
Oh,
take a
that's
look at.
terrible. I mean, I wrote the thing in like 3 weeks. This started as just a new editor for Gold Runner on the CoCo 2, because I'd taken it and changed it over to a four color CoCo 3 display and selected the palettes on it. So I just wanted a new editor for it. And then I ended up writing the game, and so yeah, it's really terrible. I mean, there's stuff in there that I would never do. It was, I mean, there's areas where you can tell it's like, oh, yep, copy paste from here to there to there to there. Just changed a couple of things, and that was it. I mean, it was just pure laziness. That's how I got the source code back, was just pure laziness. So yay for that.
So it pays to be lazy is the lesson we're learning here.
That is it. That is true. That is true. I'm gonna have to call my dad tomorrow and let him know.
Next up, Erico's been a busy boy this week too. So we got a lively discussion going here on Facebook. He's been running a basic program for that he wants to self-modify the code. Now, originally, some people were suggesting, and Nick wrote, I think you were involved in the discussion here too on this, of wanting not just to have variables changing, but actually have the code change. So if you go to a different level, there's different logic. And he's been trying to figure out, now you can do a merge, which will actually merge code together. So you can actually have it overwrite lines you already have in your existing program. But unfortunately, it trashes the variables when you do that. I'd never had a chance to really fully catch up on the discussion to see if that's been resolved in some way. I believe I've heard that the Dragon actually has a chain command that actually will keep your variables intact and it changes to the next program. So you can actually write a program that's bigger than Basic would normally fit. Basic 9 has that option as well because you can unlink and link modules in. So you can have a Basic 9 subroutine module for each level, for example, and just unlink the level you've completed and link the new one in. So you can write a basic game that's 512K literally of levels and stuff. But Nick Maroda, do you remember? Has this actually been kind of resolved? Like I know you were involved with some of the merge stuff.
Yeah, I just mentioned the merge because I knew that because he asked if there was a way to bring in code from load or C load, but I don't think they've resolved the.
Yeah, I think Color Basic doesn't really support that. The minute you try to do a load, it's wiped out.
I was thinking there might be some pokes you can do to kind of fool Basic to letting stuff sit. I know some people were suggesting like you use the cassette buffer because if you're running a disk-based game, there's a 256 byte buffer there that Basic doesn't use except for cassettes. You could like store some of your variables and stuff there, like poke them in and then peek them back out once you load the new level or run the next program in, so you can keep it, or you can save it to do a disk file and come back in type thing. I didn't know if there's any pokes though to actually fool Basic into just letting it keep all the variables and just continue running as if nothing happened. Oh, apparently it's still active. Somebody's typing in a comment right now. Next one up from Erico is he's also posted some semi-graphics design work here that he's been doing with Jim Gary for the Aliens game, and he's got some further updates in the comments. So here he's doing some of his his typical artwork for the semi-graphics 4 mode on his Photoshop graph paper. And then here he's working on the 3D view thing. Now there's a Jim Gary update to this immediately following. Actually, Jim has actually made the base engine running on the MC10 already in the Coco that we can actually see what it kind of looks like in its rough.
Of course he has.
Rough post. Yeah. I'm sure he's doing another one even as we speak. Maybe he was the one typing the comment there earlier. I'm not sure. So here's another little update on some of the graphics he was doing. And this will make more sense once we show the update from Jim here, which I'll segue to right now. So you got the map on the left. The upper right corner has got this first player's 3D perspective view.
Okay.
And this is the one they're planning on being a multiplayer game. So you have the other parts on the right will also be other players. Up to 6 was the original plan, if the speed can be kept up.
It's going down a hallway. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see on the
You can see where the turn's coming up, yeah.
The one thing I liked about this, most of the 3D engines back from the early days were all wire from, like, basically everything was a hallway.
Yeah.
And this one actually allows larger rooms and a bit of perspective to see that, which I don't think we saw in the Coco really until I think Complete Triad did it in 7th Link, where you can have the rooms wider. And then, of course, stuff like Gatecrasher can do that too, so. It's a pretty cool instrument. If you can actually get it running with all 6 players on a network type thing using DriveWire, that'd be awesome.
That is cool.
But considering Erico just started discussing it this week and Jim's already got a demo running, a couple days later type thing, I'm jealous I don't get projects done that fast. Next up, this was Simon WGB, who does a lot of retro streams of all kinds of machines. And
he joined Discord now, right?
Yeah, I was going to mention that I actually finally caught him on one of his live streams doing the Dragon 32 here. And he does these on Twitch, and they usually last like 2 to 4 hours. And he actually plays the game for like at least half an hour to an hour. He doesn't just, slap games together every 15 seconds type thing. So you get a bit of detailed gameplay. And I actually caught him on chat this time. So we were chatting back and forth in text chat while he was playing. I gave him a couple suggestions. He actually played Shock Trooper for a bit because I mentioned that was the game on challenge this week. He didn't submit his score, unfortunately, but it is at the end of the video here. But once he finishes the Twitch stream, a couple days later, he usually uploads it to YouTube. So any of those that aren't on Twitch, you can watch it on there. So, and I'll just play a couple seconds here of the first game he played just before I joined him, which was Cuthbert Goes Walkabout, which was a UK title based on Amadar from the arcade. Which is another one with background music. I'd forgotten about this one. Actually has background music while you're playing.
So you have to fill in the boxes, right?
Yeah, sort of like kicks type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can jump too, which is kind of cool because you can run towards the monster and literally jump over them as long as they don't turn around on you.
Oh yeah, like that.
Yeah, and then if you get far enough, it changes to the white screen as an alternate color set as you
Oh
get
yeah,
further in the level.
this is Nick Marenti's favorite color set here.
Yeah, yeah.
The Puyan
Any
palette.
special, I call it.
Yeah. Now
Because he
you
gets
can't
especially annoyed.
you can't do a big region. You have to do every square individually.
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause if not,
Things like commentary
I
and
guess
stuff
if
too.
not, you could just do the whole outside of the border and color in the whole screen. Huh? That'd be a little bit of a hack. So
Yeah.
interesting.
They did
game.
Tea Time,
Ooh,
which is another UK unique one.
that looks cool. I don't remember seeing this one. It's got the artifact couleurs in it. Oh, are you catching?
Yeah,
are
you're
these like
catching
sugar lumps?
cubes, I think it's called.
Sugar lumps, huh?
And you have to pour them into the cup there, and then you got later ones where you have to dodge stuff. Then you have a little bit of a platform where you have to pick up things.
Wow, that's cool.
It's
And
cute.
different things come out after you as you advance levels too. As the
That's a
screens repeat.
biscuit, probably, because teas and biscuits, right? Teas and crumpets. So we have a little biscuit to go with our tea.
Sure.
Could be.
Where's little Miss Muffet?
Little Miss Muffin.
And this is one of the later levels here where you have to go across the platforms and the elevators to collect those little piles.
Is there a straw for that pile? Cool looking game. Neat.
Yeah, it was one of the cheap ones too. This is one of those ones they sold for like £3
on the-
or something
okay,
like that.
Yeah, the $5 tape deal or something. Yeah.
Which actually for that cheap of a game was a pretty good quality one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you played
Okay,
Danger Ranger, which is
Danger Ranger.
one of my favorites from back in the day too. And Shock Trooper and a few others. But anyway, it's he's actually joined our Discord now. I mentioned that we should try to get him on the show because he's somebody who grew up with the Dragon 32 back in the day, so he's playing a lot of the games he played as a kid. That was his first
Okay.
computer.
Cool.
He no longer has his original Dragon 32, so now he's using XOR to play all this stuff.
Okay.
But since there's been new developments on Dragon games, some from Nick and just stuff that he hasn't, Simon hasn't seen, being out of it for years, that we'll try to get him to try some of these other things too, and some of the Coco ports that have made it back to the Dragon instead of the other way around. So I'm hoping we'll get him on the show at some point here. But he does
Okay.
these streams like almost literally every day. He does some sort of retro game stream.
That's cool.
And this one here, we've covered the Super Ladderman / Ladderman 2 by Richard Kelly. He's been doing multiple betas. We've covered a few of them on the show here. He's actually officially got the official 1.00 release out now. I've played this actually a fair bit to just try it. It's actually for a basic game. It's quite good. There's dozens of different screens here, and he's got some screenshots here because you
So
basically have to go through and
quite-
collect things in certain order.
Quite good is twice as good as quite good. So there's good, there's quite good, and then there's quite good.
And then after that, there's good,
Hey?
which is really good in Canadian anyway.
It looks good. I like all the level designs.
Yeah, and he's even got some like cool animation tricks where he has like the player falling in front of objects, but the object still shows through, or behind objects type of thing. And there's some little animations like when you solve a level, the guy gets a little propeller head cap going and he starts flying up to the next screen. So it's got a lot of finesse and polish for a basic game, and it looks quite good. Plays in the Coco 1 and 2. So, and that is the end of the Game On news for this week.
Woo-hoo. All right. Before we take a commercial break, Brian Weasler, have you had time to get your ducks in a row for your project updates for the week?
Yes, I did get my ducks in a row. First thing I wanted to show here was kind of a box of stuff that I got. Curtis had mentioned this last week on his news segments there with Christian. I'm not sure exactly how his last name is pronounced. Cremo. He had an auction there of like 13 games that he was selling on YouTube that Curtis had mentioned. And actually, he did quite well on that one. He got $96 or $97, I think, for those 13 games that Curtis had mentioned last week. But him and I have been chatting for quite a while now, and he actually showed some stuff to me that maybe I might be interested in. So I ended up buying some stuff from him directly. And with the stuff that I bought, he also had some extras that he kind of threw in with it that I was very pleased with. But the things that I did buy from him, I'll just kind of pull some of them out here. And again, just like on the YouTube one, he had all the
When you're
original
saying
manuals.
YouTube,
and
you mean eBay or something, right?
eBay. I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
keep saying YouTube.
Yeah.
eBay. I'm sorry. You think I would know eBay versus YouTube? I would think
Yeah,
that.
not a lot of people sell things on YouTube, but yeah.
But here's
eBay, YouTube.
this
Gantlet.
game here. Gantlet there.
Gantlet.
Yep. And the disc with that one there. So that was nice. Also
I want
here.
to crack it.
I want to crack it. Here's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Ooh.
And the manual with that one there.
Don't panic.
42.
I also got here.
That wasn't for the Coco, was it? The Hitchhiker's Guide?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That
this
was
is
the Coco
Coco
version.
one. Yep.
You
This
have
was
the
the.
Invisiclues. Is that what those games did? Invisiclues? Or
Sure.
am I
This one
thinking
is.
of
It's
another?
Is that where you had to
from
put
Infocom.
the red film over it or something?
Yeah,
this
usually the Infocom games had some sort of a hint.
There were
Yeah,
sometimes
some of them
had
did.
they had
Some
like
did.
these little kind of props that came with it that had
Yeah.
clues where you could hold like the clear red film over something because they were
Oh,
hidden
okay.
in the print and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
my Sea Stalker has that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide also came with a microscopic space fleet. It was a little tiny plastic bag with a like you would get a bagged game in, but it was only about 1 or 2 inches square, and it said microscopic space fleet on the little hanger, and you could look as much as you wanted, but it was kind of like they sold you an empty bag as a prop
As a
and it
gag,
worked.
yeah.
Well, you got to remember the microscopic space fleet was actually accidentally swallowed by a small dog when it tried to invade Earth. So
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't include the remains of that microscopic space fleet in the bag instead.
Uh-huh.
Did you use a microscope?
A microscopic one.
Okay, I didn't know that game was on the Coco, the Hitchhiker's Guide. That's cool.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of the
it's a
Infocom games were.
Yeah.
Wishbringer and a few others.
yeah, Sea Stalker, Witchbringer, Hitchhikers. This is all 3 Zorks of the original Zorks anyway.
So can
Sorry,
you just
Brian.
No, that's fine. And then I also got a Sundog game here, Quest with Zelda.
Nice.
Yeah, guess what? That's a clone of.
I want to crack it.
Zelda. For
Also,
those
in
with
the
a
group,
lisp.
Zelda.
Quest for Zelda, everybody.
Zelda.
also got the Coco Max 3 from Colorware there, along with 4 discs of fonts for it as well. So
Wow.
there's four different fonts discs that came with it. So I bought that from him.
Ron DeVille's quite familiar with that program.
I have those.
Did you?
Mhm.
And then also the Coco Max 3, the manual that goes with it.
Nice.
Now, so in a little insert there. Also got here Tandy, got Cave Walker.
Ah, Cave Walker.
Kind of the unofficial Downland sequel.
And Seamus.
Seamus, nice. Good game. Curtis patched
Also-
that for the Coco 3, and George has been forever grateful for that. He reminds me every Coco Fest. You know, Curtis
Reminds me
patched
too.
Seamus, yeah.
Since the 80s, he's reminded me of that.
In case any publishing needs here, I also picked up Home Publisher.
Oh, excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
Good
Yes,
program.
Hours of Fun.
That's just to render one screen the hours of fun.
Right, hours to watch that screen.
That's a
And,
good
That's
game.
just to boot it.
Flight Sim 1.
Flight Sim 1, got that one. Also, Pitfall 2.
Nice.
The best supporters of the speech sound pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pitfall 2, Fall Harder.
Yep.
And then also Sub Battle Simulator.
Oh,
Got that one.
man, this
And
is
then-
quite the load.
Yeah. And then from what I just learned here, Nick Morenti's favorite game here on cassette.
Puyan. Yes.
It is a good game. I like the game. It's just a bad choice of colors.
You play it on the Coco VGA. You can change it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
I
go.
played it
Or
on
Coco
Coco
3.
3.
And then also, this was just kind of an educational one, though. It's just it's called Taxi. It's a kids learning game, but
Yeah, by Children's Workshop.
Chosen Workshop was it? And then some of the extras that he threw in here.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. he had this laying around. It's just the box insert. So
Okay,
the
cool.
for
Dexter.
Dexter. So yep. And then also an empty box of
Shanghai.
Shanghai there. So
Ooh.
threw that in there.
Get Rick Adams to autograph
Yeah.
that.
And well, actually, it's buried. I already have that one, but yes, I'll have to. One of the things I did also buy from him though, because it was such great shape though. So it was the
Nice.
deluxe joystick. This one looks like it's practically brand new.
Is that a single button or a double button one?
Double. Yeah, this one should be the double. It's the B. Yep, the double button there. So at the B end, in case you're not sure how to use it.
Ah, nice.
The operation manual
Owner's
there.
manual. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Actually, to be honest, you did need that for how to switch between free flow to center back, because if you didn't push it to a corner, it didn't work properly. So.
Oh, okay. To get it done.
Right, you could actually break the stupid thing.
Yeah.
And then he had this one laying around here, just another joystick.
Okay,
Though it's missing some feet, and it's also
Okay.
missing the screws, so it's going to need a little TLC.
Okay.
So got that, and he also threw in a color disc system, the programming manual
Okay.
for that one there, and it has that spiral bound, which I
Nice.
really.
You don't see that all the
like that.
time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And this one here, it's kind of neat to thumb through it. It was this Radio Shack supplement software catalog, so it has all the different games and.
That also had all the third-party stuff too, didn't it?
Or
is that the express order I'm thinking of? Because they were selling like VIP Writer and Telewriter and third-party software through one of their.
As I'm thumbing through here, everything looks very candy. But this has software in it, everything from the color or the micro color computer, the pocket computer, the Model 1, 3, and 4. So it covered a range of systems there.
Neat.
Yeah, because if you go to the CoCo section there, if it has stuff like VIP and Telewriter and some other things there, then that's the one where you can actually order. Unfortunately, Radio Shack never really told people this existed, so you had to kind of know about it first.
Now look at all the utilities here. Color computer, Telewriter. Nope, I don't see any. Everything looks
so
very.
it must be the express order I'm thinking of then.
Yep. And then he also threw a Tempest in here.
Tetris.
Yep, Tetris. Yep, I meant. And the thing that I was most excited about, because this has been on my book want list, he didn't even know I wanted it. He just had it, and it's Kids to Kids on
the
color
color
computer.
Cool.
So it's a color computer game, Kids on Kids, or Kids to Kids there. And it's just a series of little basic games on learning how to program in BASIC, basically. But for the colors, so I've had this one here for a while. I've been wanting this one for a while, I should say.
That's cool. I've never actually seen that one.
Yeah, I've had this on my list for probably about 6 months and doing searches all the time, and never pops up anywhere. And this thing's like in perfect shape.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks good.
Here's the sad thing about it is that at one time, whenever this sale was, I'm not sure if this is the date or not, but at KB Toys, you could buy 2 for $1. So this poor thing sold for 50 cents back in the day.
Wow.
So, just 2 other quick things that I'd like to share. The guy who's active on our Facebook quite a bit there, Michael Petzley, him and I have been kind of trading cartridges back and forth. He's been looking for some, I've been looking for some, and he's had some that I've been looking for, but he asked me if I'd be interested in this little guy here.
That's the
Zipster's Mini.
Mini MPI.
Yeah, that's what I have.
He had bought it and he really wasn't using it as much as he thought, and he knew I wanted one, so he sold me his along with the charger there. So I was very happy to get this, because this, at least Ed hasn't had any of these on his webpage for quite a while as being available. So
Score.
Yeah, I think I got the last one that was up in the last batch.
Oh, did you? Okay. So I was excited to get that. And then the last thing I'd like to show is this disc controller here by J&M Systems. I believe it came with JDOS in it.
Yep. Is that the one with the parallel port or the plain one?
No, I don't know parallel on this one here, but yeah, that would be nice to find that.
I got one with a switcher and 2 ROMs.
Oh, okay, so you can switch between either one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours probably has a parallel port too. Then Ron, that was their second version, which had
it could be.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it in a while.
Had a little double header connector on the side. You could use it to run a parallel printer or SASE hard drive interface too.
Oh, okay, nice. I'll have to keep an eye out and see if those pop up. And then I did snag 2 manuals. I went and did a search there, and there was a JDOS and a disc manual for it that I was able to find. So, yeah.
Now, do you know if yours has the memory minder program built in? Because some of the JDOSs had the built-in for disk calibration. It was actually had a special disk.
Mine has.
You got with it to actually calibrate the heads and stuff on the drive.
Would that be the software, or would there be something that'd be built?
It's a
into here
combination
as
of
well?
both. It's a disc that's specially formatted. Plus, it actually had the ROM, the JDOS ROM. If you got the later version of it, would actually have this memory minder program built into it.
Oh, okay.
Did the testing.
I mean, I've plugged this in and I've hooked it up to a disk drive, and that's all I've really done with it so far. I don't know how I would determine that. Maybe it's something that's just
Yeah, it was mentioned in the manual, and I think it had to be JDOS. I'm trying to remember now. 1.2 or higher, I think, had memory minder. Can't remember off the top of my head, but
okay. Well, I'll do some digging and maybe follow up.
yeah, because if you can find one of those memory minder disks there, you can use that to align any double density drive for basically any system that uses hard sectored with the timing holes. So you could repair drives for PCs and CoCos and everything else. It was quite a good package.
I'll have to look for that. That sounds very interesting.
Cool stuff.
That's all I got. Thanks, Stevie.
That was
I like your rack of Cocos in the back there.
Oh, yeah, I got those up there. Yeah.
quite,
Yeah, for anybody who's wondering why Coco 3 prices are so expensive on eBay now, Brian's the reason.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's very interesting. Septandy really did a shot in the arm there on eBay with Coco sales. I mean, you could just see prices. I mean, Coco 2s that would normally be going for like 50 or 60 bucks now, people are asking 100, 110, $120 for. I think the Septandy really flamed the fire of interest for the color computer. So I think it's a good thing. But
Yeah, it's good and bad both at the same time,
right,
I guess.
exactly. Yeah. So it was just very interesting to kind of watch the prices over the past month or two just steadily climb up. So that's good.
well, it's not good for somebody trying to get one
Well,
now. But yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. That, like Curtis was saying, it's kind of good and bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the good I mean is the
Yeah.
interest in the Tandy, and I mean, I guess maybe as a side spin here before we go into the news, have our numbers on like the Facebook page members, has that been steadily climbing too since Septandy? I guess I was kind of curious about that. Like the number of people.
I know in
joining the,
Discord it has. We've had some people just because of Septandy have joined. Some of them in chat earlier today too. And I think Facebook has had the same thing. Like we've had an increase of people that have learned about it. And for people that are interested in the software of the color computer, I mean, they can use the emulators, and quite a few of them, I think, like Frodo, he's running his on a Mister here. They're happy just being able to try out some of this Coco stuff they never got to try out back in the day. But for others who are trying to get the actual hardware, yeah, it's the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
The Facebook color computer group has 3,200 members.
Okay, so it's growing. I haven't been tracking those numbers, but that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if Ed Snyder has this on his website right now, but he was working on that Coco 2 clone, based on all new parts, using all the original parts in a small form factor. That might be an option, and I think that's already got a, composite mod built in. It's got 64K, the whole 9 yards.
I don't know is he selling that yet, Stevie? Or
I'm
is it
not
just still the
sure. I
prototype?
just remember seeing the pictures of it, but I mean that would be something I would be interested. I mean, I've got real Cocos, but I would kind of be interested in a nice compact Coco 2 clone that's just got all new chips and stuff, and you just plug it in and it goes.
What could we offer a guy that has everything so he'd come on the show?
Who you talking about, Ed Snyder?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he has need for nothing. I mean,
Nothing has worked yet.
Yeah, and it's not like he needs us to promote his stuff. All you gotta do is mention Ed Snyder made whatever. And
if you're watching this, Ed, please, Ed.
He doesn't need
Come
us to
on.
promote his product, so he does a good job on his own there.
He does sometimes pipe up and chat here once in a while. I think we've had him on audio once, didn't we?
I don't
Did he
think
pop in
so.
briefly?
Honestly, I don't remember, to be honest with you. So
Although, to speak to Steve's comment about the Coco 2, wouldn't a Gimme X just need a very small daughter board to become an entire Coco 3 by itself?
I kind of think that's where it's going.
The plan is eventually Gary Becker and Ed are planning on making a full Coco 3, and the Gimme X is part of that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, I mean, if you can
explain what you're saying, I don't get it.
All right, so he has a Coco 2 clone right now, right? You're familiar with that one, right? And when the Gimme X is done and it works, if you've already cloned the Coco 2 and now you've cloned the Gimme, all you got to do is put those two things together. Now you've got a Coco 3 clone.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the next leap. He's making keyboards, he's making Gimme replacements, he's making memory. He's already made a Coco 2 that works. You put all those pieces together, I think it will maybe be a year or two away where there will be a CoCo3
But
clone.
both Gary and Ed have mentioned that is
Yeah.
the ultimate goal.
You can see the writing on the wall. That's where that's going.
Well, you know what would be great for a lot of people that use the dragon is to have a dragon with a gimme.
Oh, okay. So like a compatible.
So
all
you're
your
basically a CoCo3 upgrade for the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that have dragons, aren't there? Especially in England.
That'd be a little bit more complicated, not much, but a little bit more complicated. Like, for example, the PAs for the keyboards are wired differently. So if you expanded a dragon to be a CoCo3 keyboard software, unless you rewrote it or patched some of it, wouldn't work properly. It'd be the wrong keys. So there's a little bit of a difference you'd have to worry about if you want to be able to run both library sets.
How hard is that for Ed Snyder?
Well,
He's probably done it in his sleep, but
yeah, no, I think the CoCo3 clone with the new keyboard and the Gimme X and all this kind of stuff. That now when you add all that stuff up, you're probably going to be looking at $300 or $400. So it's not going to be any cheaper than buying one on eBay.
well, by the time it comes out, it might be.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But would it be cool to have a brand new modern CoCo3 with all the bells and whistles? 8 megabytes of RAM and 3 megahertz speed and
VGA
output, stereo sound. I'll probably put in one of his sound chips in it and all kinds of other crap.
He might even merge his Mega Mini in there and have 2 high-speed serial ports.
God forbid a real-time clock. So I know that's just crazy talk at this point, but yeah. Maybe Paul Barton can throw in a couple of multicolored wires in there. You never know. So
yeah, CoCoTALK closes their show because everything that's needed on the Coco 4
has been done.
Yep. No one's gonna say, what about a real time clock? What about a real time? They'll already be there.
Yeah, then we'll just become Game On Challenge every week, and that's it.
Yeah. So cool. Cool. All right, so we finished Game On news. So how about we'll take a commercial break and then we'll come back with regular news. Michael Furman's favorite part of the show, Snoozy Newsy.
Yeah, I hope he has his pillow ready.
All right, how about a little bit of Fletcher for us as we take our commercial break?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. On holidays, Uncle JT would entertain us with stories of his business conquests and his assistant who would meet any deadline that he imposed, no matter how ridiculous. Well, until she shot him in the face, that is.
Hi, this is the award-winning Alan Huffman of Subetha Software, and you're watching Stevie Fall Off Cliffs.
What's going on, guys? Stevie Stroh here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK every week, and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all the reward that we need. However, if you would like to become a patron of the show and offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon site available for that, and you can reach that by going to our website at CoCoTALK.live and clicking on the Patreon link. But just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Hey there, I'm Marco Roser, and you're watching CoCoTALK.
This is not the Joey cereal switch. This is the Joey cereal switch. Control up to 3 cereal devices. Order yours today at cocoman.biz.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Right!
This Christmas, Tandy has a very special offer. A family color computer pack to take away at a very special price. This family computer comes complete with software and costs an incredible $449, a saving of $241.69. It's powerful, educational, and ideal for the young and young at heart. The easy way to start computing. The Color Computer Family Pack from Tandy. Get it while it's hot. Tandy, the biggest electronic store in Australia.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Dagger like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
All right, we are back with Michael Furman's favorite part of the show, Snoozy Newsy.
Actually, the first part here is actually an update on the game news here, because that was sent by Mike Pitsley. Actually, I mentioned the chess versus other chess programs here.
Okay.
And he mentioned he already posted a link with all this kind of comparing things here. So he actually has this little chart he did on Facebook here back in September, which I didn't realize.
Cyprus wins in 8 minutes, 21 moves.
I should probably give you guys the link to share that too, shouldn't I? Since it's not actually officially part of the news. So let me just throw that in quick.
You gonna put that in the Zoom chat?
I can put it right in the.
I put it in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
There you go.
So looks like Cyprus is the winner most of the time, huh? Cyprus. Okay. N64. Cyrus. Okay.
I'm assuming the 1 versus 1, 3 versus 1. That must be the skill levels or something. And if there's 8 levels of difficulty in the original chess cartridge, and I think there's 5 or whatever in the Cyrus one. So, and then he played it versus the Nintendo 64 chess, which N64 won most of them, but Cyrus actually won one of them, which to me was a bit of a surprise.
Okay, Ron Delvota said he got a blue
3.5
screen.
hours.
I think a lot of it has to do with how many levels the program has been written to calculate ahead. So I mean, if it's only calculating 8 moves versus 20 moves ahead, so depending on how many different combinations it can pre-calculate, we'd probably determine. I was watching a YouTube video on it, and they were talking about programming of this, and that recent competition with what is it, that IBM computer? What is it called? What's the one that beat
Watson or whatever?
Watson or something like that, where it beat the Russian or whatever. Yeah, they were talking about how many the depth of moves that it's able to calculate really determines how playable the game is.
So Cyrus wins at 3 hours and 30 minutes versus it lost at 45 minutes. So it took a lot more time.
And that was also the only one of those 4 comparisons where Cyrus got to move first. So if the Nintendo was playing first, it always won. From what I'm gathering there.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting to see that, to see especially how some of the programs back in the day,
says
like to see the
N64. That's not the Nintendo 64. That's the Commodore 64. Because all these.
I don't
things
know,
here say
Michael. If
N64.
he's still in the chat, please clarify that, because I'm not sure myself.
I'm gonna hope he's talking about the C64, because if you played it against the Nintendo 64, which came out in the late 90s, that wouldn't necessarily be a fair challenge, right? So.
Yeah, and the fact that Cyrus actually did beat it once would be pretty impressive, to be honest. I was thinking it's the Nintendo 64.
Okay. All right. Maybe. All right. Well,
that'd be pretty impressive if it even managed to beat it in one game. So
okay.
They'd all beat me because I suck at chess. So no, Nintendo 64 officially confirmed by Michael.
All right. There we go. There you go. All right.
Cool. So now we just want to see the full 3.5 hour video, and we'll just stream it live.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to regular news. I just wanted to fill that in. Okay, so I don't know if 8-Bit Show and Tell is still in the chat or not after the YouTube stream restarted there, but he
Composite
did
mod, huh?
part 2 of his collection of Easter eggs for Septandy. So we're still getting a few trail ends of Septandy here in mid-October. So this one has the typical, CLS with an illegal value. And this is in case for the MC10.
Okay.
So that one we kind of knew about. And then there's also the hidden one. You have to print the character string peaks there, which is a little thing that Bill Gates put in specifically because Commodore had stolen the ROMs once, so he put in this hidden thing to catch it. And then he goes into the Coco. Let's see here. That's still Coco 2. That's basically the same as the Coco 1.
That is a clean keyboard.
Now wait a minute. Commodore did not steal the ROMs. Jack Tramiel just was not going to pay a royalty on every Commodore machine sold, so he did a one-time payment. And after he did the one-time payment, Bill Gates realized he had not put a Microsoft banner anywhere in the code that had been licensed perpetually by Commodore. So when Commodore came back later to get patches, he snuck it in as an Easter egg then. You can get that on the page table site. But yeah,
but I'm
Commodore
trying to
did
remember.
not
Like
steal
it wasn't Commodore specifically. It was some other company, although that did copy the ROMs. I shouldn't have said Commodore. That was my mistake. But somebody actually did copy the ROMs, and they did catch them using that hidden string. It was a port of Microsoft Basic.
Apple had one in their Mac that was the same way, and that actually showed up in a court case where Steve Jobs actually typed in one thing and showed that it was actually Apple code.
Yeah, because I remember reading, and I wish I could find the original article. Unfortunately, I didn't research it before the show, but there was another. It was a fairly obscure computer that had copied the ROMs literally, and they caught them using that.
The correction out there before suddenly hordes of C64 and 128 and Amiga folks showed up with pitchforks and things.
Because they watch our show pretty regularly.
Well, yeah, and they've already been gathering just because of all the other stuff. But let's not push them over the edge here.
Yeah, no, that is correct. I worded that wrong. I was thinking, Commodore's where the story came out that was in there, but there was another company that had, I can't remember, even South American or European company or something that had literally stolen the ROMs, but it wasn't Commodore. You're right. Then on the Coco 3, and he kind of goes through his Coco 3 a little bit here. Come on, YouTube, don't do this. Oh, you're going to give me an ad. Thanks. In French yet. There you go.
Yeah, you say, YouTube, don't do this. And YouTube goes, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. So the Coco 3 had some extra Easter eggs thrown in. Like there's the Microware Systems Corp one, which is, I think, if you're only on your 40 or 80 column screen, it shows up instead of Microsoft. So it was little Microware's little blurb in there. But there's also a special one that not everybody, I think, does know about.
CLS 9.
And that's if when you first boot it up and you do one of these CLSs, then you get a different starting message than Microware Systems Corp. So we can find that one here.
Yeah, you get the programmer names.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
I will mention in OS 9 Level 2, the original OS 9 Level 2, they have a repeat last command option in the shell, which you hit Control A, and built into the sequential file manager, the SCF file manager, they actually had 3 names, and these are 2 of them that actually did the programming for OS 9 Level 2. So that would show up until you typed something for the first time. And we did that in Nitrous 9. We actually changed it to have like Wes Gale, myself, and Bill Noble as ours to show up. And since then, since we released it to the public and then Boise and the rest of them took it over, I think they just have a link to the nitrous9.org website is what's your default keyboard thing. But you can actually set that. There's a system call we added back in. So if you want your program to default, if somebody hits a shift right arrow to immediately fill in a certain phrase or sequence, you can actually tell it whatever phrase you want. So you can kind of customize it yourself. So that was part of his Septandy. So he goes through the MC10, the Coco 2, the Coco 3, and some of these little hidden things. Of course, he goes through the Control Alt Reset one, which is probably the most famous one of all, where it's an entire P Mode 4 graphic.
The Muggeteers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Next up, Sheldon McDonald here. We showed him last week doing the PSG player. And this is an update here where he now has percussion enabled. So I'll play a little bit of that.
You have your sound turned up? Are you sharing sound too?
I thought I was, but maybe not. I'll stop sharing and just reshare just in case.
Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't have it on. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah. strikes already. So
Yep.
yeah. No, but that is cool. That sounds very chiptune-y, very Nintendo-y. And the percussion
Yeah, I like
really
the fact that you just load it in and it immediately starts taking over the new song without even stopping. You know,
yeah.
So that's cool that you got the percussion, like the drum sounds and stuff in there too. So next up, AC's 8-Bit Zone, and he was in chat earlier. Hopefully he stayed on while the stream stopped and started there, thanks to YouTube, etc. But if you remember, we went through his Coco collection because he brought out 5 Cocos he had in storage for 20 years. And his second oldest Coco 2 had the space bar missing. It was just completely gone. So he 3D printed one here, and he's actually goes through in quite technical detail the measurements and trying to get the molds exactly right. And the hardest part for him actually wasn't the 3D printing itself. It was to get that little balancing bar, like on the space bar, there's a little metal rod that balances out. So if you hit it on the right-hand side or the left-hand side away from where the center part actually goes in to make the contact, it would actually get stuck without that bar there. It would just kind of stick down and it would screw up. So he goes in and he takes like a coat hanger wire and he snips the coat hanger. He tries to measure the bends at the exact right places and stuff. And he does this a few times. And his printer is also actually got different color plastic. So the one he's holding in his hand here, this darker gray one, is actually the color he ends up using. But he goes through, with a pair of vice grips and it's just, playing around with it and trying to get the bar at the right thing here and punching the holes in. And the first time it doesn't quite fit. It's really close. It looks visually like it's fine. But then when you try to put it in, it actually doesn't work. So he goes through it a few times here. He's comparing the original one on the top to the 3D printed one he did in the bottom here. But he eventually gets it to work. And that's what it looks like with that, slightly off-colored darker gray. And he was originally thinking, well, maybe I should get the proper color plastic. But then he said, actually, you got kind of used to it. And it's not too far off the original gray from the original Coco 1 case.
The space bar is kind of its own thing,
Yeah.
So...
And it's a bit more of a bluish gray than the original Coco 1, but he kind of likes the fact that it has almost a retro look to the original, an homage to the original Coco 1. So he decided, I'm keeping it.
Kind of a throwback color there. Yeah, absolutely.
You can have a comparison.
Yeah, no, that is really cool.
So is the file available? I could use a couple of space.
He was talking on the YouTube channel that he's planning on uploading it. I don't know if he has yet. I haven't checked, but he was planning on uploading, so you could put it on your own 3D printer and do it too.
Now, wouldn't that be a cool name for a drinking establishment with a sci-fi theme? It's called the Space Bar. You know what I mean? That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You can get your Pan Galactic Gargle Blaster.
Right.
Or all the restaurant at the end of the universe. It's,
right.
So
it was a cool project. I haven't seen anybody like 3D print a specific key before, and then have especially the space bar, which has this wiring thing you have to worry about on top of it. It's not just a pop-in replacement. So
they need to print a CM8 door.
So what was Paul trying to show us?
Paul Barton was I was just commenting on the multicolored wires on the Coco 4, and Paul Barton had a whole spool of like rainbow colored wire coming up like a rainbow ribbon.
Yeah, I just bought a roll of 40 wide, IDE type cable.
Okay.
And it's got,
there's your colored wire.
You got one all the colors under the rainbow right there on one spool.
Most of them.
It's almost a rainbow bridge. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next up, Keith, whose YouTube channel is Chibiakumas. I'm not sure if that's pronounced right, but he's been doing various, CPU segments on different CPUs and different systems and how to access the hardware, how to program in the same language for all of them. He's been doing, the Vectrix, he's been doing Nintendos, he's been doing the Genesis, and he's been doing the Dragon and the Coco. So this is chapter 8, and he's actually talking about doing sound on the Coco and how to manipulate that. And of course, we know we don't have an actual sound chip, and he mentioned that too. But he does mention, the Dragon Coco wasn't the worst of the bunch. There were some other machines that only had 1 bit, like the Apple II and the original Spec-D and stuff. And that gives you like no volume control really, and some other things. We said is, as far as it goes, for one that doesn't have a sound chip, this was actually one of the better ones because you had 64 levels of volume. You could do digitization fairly decently on it. So, he just kind of goes through and explains all that. And this is part of his ultimate goal. He's making games for all these various systems, and then doing all these assembly tutorials. Now, he does mention near the end of this particular video that he is going to be covering the Coco 3 specifically in a future episode once he completes the Coco 1, 2 Dragon stuff. And that's good because we haven't had very many. We've had, there's multiple tutorials, there's multiple books on the Coco 1 and 2 assembly language over the years. Steve Bjork's that he did with us here, for example. But there's not too much as Coco 3 specific. Like how do you use the MMU? How do you use the gimme registers and all this other kind of stuff? So I'm looking forward to that. And for people that have been asking a lot of questions, we've seen that on Facebook and in Discord both. How do you do Coco 3 specific program? I think Dave 609's actually been asking questions on that just recently. He's been doing some demos on there. So it'd be nice to have a video reference people can just pull off YouTube and learn that stuff, in the future. So I'm looking forward to see. And he's very knowledgeable. I mean, he knows all the CPUs quite well. So he knows some of the tips and tricks and other things. So it'll be interesting to see what he says about the Coco 3 hardware. Cool. Next up, this is a cool one too. Not somebody I've heard of before. Dennis Bisson has made a RAM test thing that plugs into the Color Basic ROM on a Coco 1 or 2. So it's a little AK chip thing. But this one doesn't even need RAM to run. It runs completely off the ROM included here and the CPU registers itself to test your RAM. So if you have any amount of bad RAM, like sometimes a RAM test program, if it happens to be, loading over top bad RAM, of course it won't run, so you can't tell what the problem is. So in this case here, he's got this here that you plug into the ROM, and even if you have, you can pull out 7 of the 8 chips and it'll still test that one RAM chip for you. And it actually reports the stuff out on a serial ports at 600 bauds. You hook it up to a PC terminal or a separate terminal or even another Coco with a terminal program running at 600 baud, and it'll actually read out the stuff to you on the screen, which I thought's a really cool idea here because it'll actually help you identify, individual RAMs that are blown when the standard RAM test program might die trying to even load. So that was pretty innovative. And he's got a little bit of a demo video here. And I just froze it on this first thing here because he's I believe he's French, and he has his nice little warnings here. Somebody with an accent trying to speak in English are repugnant to you, I suggest you stop watching this video.
If any footage taken by an amateur cameraman makes you queasy, I suggest you stop. Hearing someone improvising on a topic without having a specific plan makes you discuss and reply. I suggest you stop. Wow.
Oh, he's seen our show.
We need this at the beginning of our show now, right? So yeah.
It's one of the best intros I've ever seen. It's great stuff.
That's wonderful.
You are still here. Let's go.
So anyway, definitely watch the video. The video is actually 20 minutes long, so I won't play the whole thing here, but I'll fast forward to, he actually goes through the source code here too, explaining how it all works. And all the things you have to do when you have no RAM, you have to unroll stuff. You can't put a loop. You can't throw something on the stack. You have no stack. Stack's based on RAM. So he goes into all the details of how you exactly had to program to get around all this stuff here. Then he goes into the wiring diagrams and how the switches work, etc. And here is some of the actual testing, jumping out to a serial port he's got on his PC, reading it. And this is the actual text it outputs over the serial port from that ROM. I'm just going to find one here.
Right there is a nice little wall of text right here coming up.
So here it's actually showing the more detailed testing. And it actually detects what the ROM jumpers are. If you have a 16K jumper, the 32K jumper, etc. And then you can actually see it's writing to the RAM here. You're just doing a bit of a demo on that. I'll just play a little clip from right here.
DRAM on, for example, the bit, the one that is working for the bit D1. Okay, here we have U14, which is D0, D1, D2, and so on up to D7. So, for example, I have removed the bit on the RAM responsible for the bit D1. I clear the log, and now I turn it on. So see,
and now you see that bit 1 is always bad because there's no RAM there.
Address to another.
So this will actually identify to the chip specifically which chip is giving you a problem.
Here,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Pattern, we see that we have one bit that is incorrect, which is the one before the last one, which is really D1, because here the bit are represent from 7 to.
And he actually shows a little bit of the video too, where he actually had a bad RAM chip. The RAM was mostly working, but it would just screw up on certain addresses and stuff like that. So it'll even help you detect that. I mean, it still means you have to replace the whole chip.
So an intermittent chip.
Yeah.
The intermittent issues are more difficult to.
So how do we get one of these?
I'd probably just contact him on YouTube. Actually,
Was it on
Probably the easiest.
Facebook? Was it posted on? I think I saw this on Facebook.
It might have been Facebook too. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, it's on Facebook too.
Okay.
So it's in the Coco group on Facebook, and he's also got the YouTube channel here.
Yeah.
I believe the links have been posted for both. So.
Yeah, no, that is really cool.
And just to show you here, like here he's
Right now
removed
we
all the
have a
RAM.
Coco with absolutely 0 RAM memory.
His English
clear my
is
log.
fine to me.
What's
Yeah, it's
interesting is
not bad.
It's not
we
repulsive.
still power on and still run the program. And right now we have many bits that are incorrect.
And these are
In
doing
fact,
all the individual,
all
like
of
can you
them.
write all the bits on and off? And
It
can
looks
you...
like that when the RAM are not there, what we read back is always FF. Okay, all the bit at one, which is a little bit logical.
Yeah, you can
from
see the
what I've
address, the
already
right,
seen
what
with
you've
the
written to that address, and what it
kind
reads
of,
back. So in this
GPL
case, you're
logic.
writing various files, and
And
it's
if
only
you look
reading
on
FF
screen,
back every time. So
we have
and that's what the screen boots up
probably,
like if
the
you
code
are on
that
a Coco with no
correspond
RAM.
to FF, so all the screen is around.
So yeah, I mean, for the hardware tinkerers out there that want to do RAM checks for people, this is an excellent little bit of hardware because it requires no running RAM to run, which is unique. I've never seen that
what
before.
type of serial connection is on the thing? Is it like a DB9, DE9, whatever it's called?
I think
or-
he's just got like raw wiring come off, and then you can hook it up to DB9, DB25, whatever you.
Okay.
whatever you need in
Three
your home.
pins, plus, minus, and ground. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a really cool.
Does this have a
RAM
real-time clock by any chance?
It does do a proper walking bit test, so you would see two linked bits Xing out and things like that, which is cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
and for you hardware tinkers like Paul and Rick and some of the others here, have you guys ever seen a RAM test like this where you don't actually need any functioning RAM whatsoever for it to run?
What's he using the stack?
No, there's no stack because there's no RAM to put.
Yeah, it
the-
looks like
probably have
YouTube
some-
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frodo just said, "Oops."
Okay. Well, the show is still going, but so much for the new internet.
I wonder if this will work on a Coco 3.
No, that is interesting. Would it work on a Coco 3? Because the RAM.
I think the ROM would
addressing-
have to be modified because you'd have to access the MMU stuff.
Right.
The
The
socket's
609 can only
different.
access 64K.
Well, the socket's different too.
Oh, right. Well, there's no socket. It's soldered right on. Oh, Explore VR says it froze. Now it's back again.
Yeah.
Maybe a local outage in your area, Stevie. That's not
I don't know.
OBS related or something. Because we haven't dropped here as far as.
That Zoom did pause on me for a second.
Oh, it did for you?
Yeah. No, that is a really cool utility, though. Absolutely.
Yeah. And for people wanting hardware debug like older Coco 1s and 2s, I
Yeah.
think it's an excellent thing in your toolkit.
Yeah, well, I'm in the process of doing exactly that right now with the newest Coco one that I got. I showed off last week. RAM issues and stuff like that. So.
Yep.
This is interesting.
Next up, Darren Atkinson, the person that designed the Coco SDC and the MCX 128 and a bunch of other things here, has actually got another MCX MC10 thing here coming up called the MCX 32SD. Now, this is in prototyping at the moment, but he's expecting to have it on sale through Ed Snyder, of course, because Ed doesn't have enough projects to produce by the end of this year. So this is actually 32K of static RAM, and it'll work with the Alice or the MC10. It has 120K of flash RAM, 16K or 16 banks of 8K each, and an SD card socket, which is interfaced to the AT Omega controller here. It also includes a new version of MCX Basic, version 3. So the MCX Basic, for those who are not familiar with it, adds a bunch of the extended basic commands and stuff and brings an MC10 almost up on par with the extended basic on a Coco 1 or 2. But this also now has support for P mode 3 and 4 because there is an internal modification you can do on the MC10 and the Alice to actually fix the problem where right now only the internal 4K of RAM can be used for video. So people were upgrading to 8K of internal RAM and then rewiring a couple things to fix it so that VDG could actually access the whole thing. And this version of MCX Basic supports that. The old one didn't. So now you can actually use P mode 3 and 4, not just P mode 0 through 2. It also has the MC server stuff built into the basic as well for accessing the SD card and for DriveWire. So you can do all that stuff as well too. So this has got some new features that the original MCX 128 does not have.
Well, the MCX 128 did have MC on there.
Yeah, I did. Although it didn't have SD cards of the support though.
Yeah, no.
Right?
So this is kind of a hybrid. The thing that what I am hoping, because I like this, but I already have the MCX 128. It would be nice if they could patch MCX Basic for the MCX 128 so it can use the P mode 3 and 4 too.
I believe he mentioned somewhere on the page that he is doing that.
Okay, that would be nice, just so I wouldn't have to buy a new thing. Not that I'm planning on doing a lot of P mode 3 and 4 programming on the MC10. I have a product I've purchased. If he's got a better basic, it would be nice that it was retrofitted to the other product too.
Yeah.
So
now, one nice thing he does on here on the SD card reader, and he doesn't even need to do this on the SDCs. It supports limited long file name support up to 39 ASCII characters, and we still have the 8.3 on the SDC.
Yeah.
So that'd be a nice feature. And then file types recognized. It'll handle ASCII text. You can just load a basic ASCII test program.
Doesn't even have to be on disk.
Exactly. Emulates the C10 emulator files or raw WAV audio for loading in cassettes.
Okay.
Machine language supports CoCo binary, the cassette and the WAV versions as well. Basic array files, which is more unique to the MC10's basic for saving arrays, can be a C10 emulator file or a WAV.
Basic
and you can load it in P-mode graphics screen as raw data too, without having to be on a disk image or a cassette image.
Cool.
There's what it looks like with the case.
Yeah, no, it's cool. This is basically the MC10 SDC, is what this boils down to. Which is a cool product.
And then also because if you have that modification internally in the hardware with the 8K RAM upgrade, then it also fixes the the VDG so you can access the whole thing. You can even page flip like 3K screens now too. Which you couldn't do
I'm
before.
wondering what this is going to sell for, because I might, as little as I'm ever going to use my MC10, I might just want to have this just to have it. Something I absolutely don't need and will hardly ever use, but I probably still got to have it.
Right there with you, Stevie. Sign me up now.
I do have two working MC10s, so I can have my MCX 128 on one and this on the other. So,
well, you gotta have something for your Jim Gary collection.
Yes.
Take my money.
Take my money. Yeah, because at this point now, you just go to Jim Gary's website, download everything, put it on the SD card, pop it up, and MC10 away till your heart's content. Right.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see if Jim gets one of these, because he's been doing a lot of MCX basic stuff, like his Akelabeth board, but he's been limited to P mode 2 and under.
Right. Right.
And this way he can actually start writing stuff for the higher res graphics modes.
This is almost like the Gimme X for the MC10. You know what I mean? It's just adding so much freaking unimaginable capabilities.
Yeah, it adds extended basic. It adds SD card support. It adds drive wire support. Extra custom ROMs. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Paul Barton's got to go.
Real-time clock.
Take care, Paul.
Oh,
that is me. That is.
I'm actually going to bring up his board here. I could skip it ahead, but is he already left or?
Paul Barton?
Yeah.
He says he's got to take a break. I'm not sure if he's coming back or not. Okay.
I have a question about the MC10.
Yes.
Okay.
Did the MC10 ever get called the Myco in the US?
Myco?
Because that's what it used to be called here in Australia.
Rainbow Magazine did have a little nickname for it. What the heck was it?
The Mini Coco or something?
Pico or Myco was one of those.
Yeah. Myco, because it's when it boots up, it says Micro Color Basic, doesn't it?
Micro Color Basic?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So Myco, it was called here, it was often called the Myco.
But that's definitely an Australian style nickname.
Yeah.
And
Rainbow did try to stick a nickname on it in the early days, like in late 83. But I can't remember what exactly they called it. Unless, Mike, do you remember what they called it?
No.
I'll have to dig out an old Rainbow to take a look.
But
anyways, it's good to see new hardware coming off the MC10 and more expanded capability.
It's just interesting that it only what's the amount of RAM? So this doesn't do the 128K like the MCX 128 did, right?
It has 32K of static RAM, so you get a 32K MC10 out of it. And then 128K flash includes the basic MCX Basic 3, but it has extra room for extra things if you want to add stuff later in the future too. And it's flashable. So
so that's kind of like the CoCo SDC has the different banks too.
Yeah.
Okay, so 30...
Now I do know, was it Darren that made or was it Ed that made there was an MC10 add-on that also had joystick ports.
Yeah, that was kind of like the PSG for the MC10, whereas a memory expansion had a sound card and Atari joystick adapters.
Because one thing they really need to do here is make an all-in-one that has that, because that's one critical piece from the Coco world that's not on the MC10. And if you get the joystick adapters they currently have, then you don't get SD card readers and all this other stuff added. They kind of need to make a central one at some point. But this is a pretty good upgrade on its own.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
We need a multi-pack for the MC10.
Yeah.
Still won't have
16,
for David
16
Ladd.
slot MPI.
Put a real-time clock in it so I guess one before the Coco.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would just be rubbing salt in the wound. Thanks,
And that's
Sal.
another thing they're also working on. They're working on an MC11, which is kind of like an MC10 clone plus, an upgraded version of the MC10. So
I think we need one of these for the Coco, but with Optane RAM, so it just insta-boots.
Anyway, Ed is going to be making the 3D printed enclosure himself, and that's a sample showing up here on the screen. He's also going to be manufacturing and selling the product, and it's expected to be out before the end of the year.
cool. Just in time for the holiday season. Kids, ask Santa.
Another stuff for
Windows
sale here. We
on.
got Jim Brain of Retro Innovations, who for once is not trolling us. So, of course, I'm going to feature his product when he's not here to smartass it. And I believe, Chet, you were the one that kind of instigated this, getting the clone of the original Symphony 12, which he's calling the Philharmonic 12. And this one here, he's got the bare board itself. You have to get your own chips and populate it yourself there, but it's only $6 for the board. And this was, of course, a combination of 4 sound chips. So you got 3 voices and 1 percussion channel per chip. So that gives you 12 voices and 4 percussion channels or noise channels. And we had some software. I think Lyra supported the Symphony 12, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, it had its own software as well.
Yeah, there was support in Lyra, but nobody can seem to find a version that has that in it.
Yeah, because I think the archive one doesn't have that particular. There's a little driver it had to load.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm going to be ordering a couple of these and putting them together. I've got some code for it around here. You have to communicate with the chips through a PIA, so it's pretty easy, and it works really good. So.
Have you actually done some full 12 voice music out of it type thing, or?
No, I only used one channel. I couldn't find any BGMs that I could use for that as part of the conversion tool that I did. But as soon as I find one, I'll get one up and running. It was hard for me to do it because I was doing it blind. I didn't have a board for it yet, and so when Jim originally did these, I'd written up that just a quick player for it. Was able to get pretty good sound out of it. So it's just. You got to get the board and build it, and so.
Paul Barton's
cool.
back.
Can you keep us up to date on that? I know Bill Noble had one of these, and actually had a keyboard to plug directly into it. You could play polyphonic sound on it.
Right.
We demoed it at one of our Coco fairs up here in Saskatoon, and it was pretty impressive. So especially when you get all 12 voices.
It's a nice board because you can.
These.
What's that, Paul?
What? I ordered one of these, but I went to buy the AY chips, and I don't know where I can get them without getting them from England.
Chet, do you know of an alternate source for the AY chips? Jim might, but he's not in chat today. So.
No, I don't. I'm not aware of any. Other than maybe eBay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll get Jim on next week, and he can kind of give us, because I'm sure he wouldn't have made manufacturing this if there's no place to get chips.
Yeah.
And Paul, are you gonna be able to stick around for a bit, or?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, okay, good. Because Steve had mentioned you, and your story's still coming up here, so I didn't want to make sure you were around for it.
Yeah. So with this card, there two of the chips are on the left channel, and 2 of the chips are on the right channel. And so you can actually get some really, really good sound, because I think the way that Lyra did it was that it used each chip for a voice. So it would do mix 3 different tones with the noise in order to get a single instrument out of it. So you got some really, really rich sound. That's how I do the cool polyphonic stuff with the keyboards.
Oh, cool. And then if you have 2 chips on each side, then you've got
stereo.
What is it? 6 voices and 2 percussion channels per side in stereo.
Right.
This is the card that you want to port Gyrus for as well, because Gyrus, one of the things about it is that it used the AY chips and a lot of them to do stereo in the arcade. Right. So with this board, you could actually support the original music and sound effects fully for that game.
That might be a VGM for you to find there, Chet.
Yeah. There's, if it's been ripped, then yeah, I'll be able to get it, because you have to hook directly at the chip, or there's some emulators that do it. So I may actually be able to produce it myself.
Cool.
Yeah,
and I think MAME has support for this chip too, so you might be able to just wire in for them to the Cocoa part of the emulation.
Actually, I've got a port already started for VCC of this. It's similar to the one that I did for the chip that's in the Game Master cartridge. So I mean, and that may end up, I may end up submitting that to the OVCC crew that's over there, doing the thing for that. But yeah, it's not too difficult to get that done. You could do it in MAME pretty easily. You just have to map it into the particular ports and jigger it in with a PIA.
Yeah, because that'll enable people to test it and or even play it if they don't have the board yet, or vice versa, like you being able to program it and test it without actually having the board yet.
Right. Yeah, so as I understand it, I think there's a couple of people in the community that tinker around with the MAME code, so they might be able to cobble something together that's got that included with it at the same ports.
Cool. Yeah, Tim Linder, I know, is still active in there. So
I wonder how much money we have to gather to buy all the goodies you can buy. The MC10 stuff, all the stuff Ed sells, the stuff Pat makes. Maybe what, $5,000 or something.
Oh, it's $108,032.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, and you do need a 64 slot multi-pack to plug them all into. So
yes,
and
or a lot of white cables
and a power generator.
Yeah, you need your own grid.
Make sure you get that heat sink on there too. That's
big ass fan.
Now that could make some, some real noise, some real news for the Coco. Paul Barton powered up his machine and caused a blackout for half of
Arizona.
Yeah,
like Bill when he fired up the PDP-11 in his apartment.
And if I remember right, this is fully decoded, so you should be able to use a Y cable with it.
Yeah, it won't go over your distance controllers.
I'd have to take a look at the diagram for it again, but I'm pretty sure it was fully decoded.
And solder it to my old serial port.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those of you who are hardware tinkerers here, it's only $6 for the board. So, and then just have to find the AY chips, and we do have to get some software to, like Chet's obviously writing. I'd love to find the original Symphony 12 software, but I don't think any of that's been found yet, or the Lyra driver. Is it Lyra or Lyra? I don't know how to pronounce that.
I don't care.
It's another way of saying I don't know.
Yeah, of all the things I've got to worry about on the Coco, that is probably not even on the list. I can't. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with the chip, and I'm not sure. Again, I have to look at the diagram again, but I'm pretty sure that if you drop in the version of the chip with the I/O ports on it, you can use those as well. I don't know if you'd have to run some jumpers or whatever into it, but yeah. So there's some options to tinker with this card and play with it some more. I'd like to see something running 4 of these.
Yeah.
There is a Constellation Lyra.
How's
Is it spelled the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
probably.
We'll take that as the official pronunciation then, unless Rich Perry comes by and corrects us.
Yeah.
Next
Webster's
step.
Just change it again anyway.
Next up, Alan Huffman put up a blog post on the alternate color sets that can be done on the 32x16 hardware tech screen. So this is basically the screen 0,1. Now, unfortunately, BASIC has a trap in it that as soon as you print anything to the screen, it immediately reverts back to the standard green. So you have to print something and then hold it with a 4nex loop or something. But it kind of goes through here, and also the inverse video of each. So there's your standard screen, which some people think is black on green. It's not. It's really dark green on
dark green
light
on
green,
light green
on nuclear green, eyesore green. So that's what it really kind of looks like. And
would poke 359, 0 get around that reverting it back?
Yeah, I wouldn't use 0. I would use 57 instead.
Okay, but
to be a bit safer. I mean, it's still not safe if you're doing disk I/O to files and stuff there, because it screws up the hook for BASIC. But I mean, if you got proper, you'd actually write a little thing that would call it back normally type thing afterwards. But there's the inverse version of that. Now, of course, the Coco VGA and the Coco 3 have palette registers, so you can actually change all of these to whatever the heck you want. And the Coco 2Bs with the T1 VDG, of course, allow you to do the inverse video in software with one poke, or in hardware, I should say, with one poke, and then Basic works perfectly fine with it. And then you can also change the actual colors themselves. And you fill in the border with a solid green if you want, or solid orange or whatever too. So
Nice.
And next up here, we've got Darren Ottery. I believe he's Australian too, isn't he, Nick and David?
Crikey.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we shared a couple of short videos showing a cool visual trick you can do in Basic. This works on the MC10 with the MCX, which we were kind of just discussing, the sort of MCX sequel, and on the Coco 123, and I presume this works on the Dragon as well, where you switch the graphics mode's resolution with the same scene, the left drawn on the screen. And I think this is the technique that Steve Bjork used to do the blow up sequence in Canyon Climber, where the whole screen shakes up and down type thing, because you're changing it on the fly. Now you can change it, and he mentions it in the video here, that you adding extra colons or taking out extra commas and stuff here, you can actually vary the speed in Basic slightly to give you different effects.
So here's a bit of weirdness
It's only minutes,
for you.
I'll just let it play through.
This is something I used to do as a kid on my Coco, just flipping between two P modes with a circle or whatever you want on the screen, because they're using different vertical res. The flipping causes an animation, which if you vary anything around line 50 or line 60, for example, removing the comma ones, which aren't needed, that'll change the speed of which the animation works just ever so slightly, so you'll get a different effect. Anyway, just thought it's interesting. It's a bit like that phenomenon you get when you shine a strobe light onto a ceiling fan that's spinning. You can kind of, if you get the right speed of the strobe light to almost match the speed of the spinning fan, you can make the fan sort of look like it's slowing down or moving backwards. Anyway, check it out.
Wow, that is cool.
There it is, the blob.
So that's a pretty cool effect, and I've seen it, just to shake up a screen like you blew up, so we're gonna shake the screen around. But actually, Basic's slow enough; it actually almost makes it look animated.
It looks fluid. You know what I mean? It looks like it's stretchy, malleable material. It looks like a water balloon or something. It's very cool.
You'd have to try that.
Good on you.
That's a pretty cool effect there.
Good on you there, Daz.
And then he did a Coco 3 version here, or Coco 1 and 2 version, I should say. Now I don't know if this zoom up thing's gonna work.
It's not gonna work, Curtis. You're gonna break the internet, Curtis.
All right, we'll leave it on here. I gotta set the quality to HD, otherwise you don't see the actual striping as it actually would show up on real hardware.
Oh yeah.
But it's a bit of a different effect because the timing's different on the Basic.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I wish they'd fix this stupid full screen thing. Anyway, pretty cool effect though, I thought. And like I said, I think that's what Steve Bjork used in Canyon Climber for the screen shaking when you blow up the dynamite type thing. So you can even do that in Trick and Basic. And Paul, since you're here, I will just zoom up the picture and let Paul explain. I won't bother reading what he said here, just because this is so cool looking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my. I looked at all the disto stuff and got his schematics and figured out what he was actually doing. And all the decoding stuff is in that 2032 lattice CPLD.
How come there's no wire showing on the top here?
Yeah, right. Well, there's a couple of resistors. Okay, so there's a CPU, and to the right is the data buffer, which I brought up to the board. So I got a whole lot of pins plugging the CPU and the data buffer back into the CoCo. And then to the left of the CPU is a pretty fast static RAM for those times. It was probably either 15 or 20, 25 nanosecond, 16. No, it was more than 16. It was 4-bit, separate in, separate out, RAM, just static RAM. And so I used that for the paging, that FF9B stuff for the disto page switching. And so it's basically a 2 meg deal. 1 meg on the left, 1 meg on the right. The 2 chips in the middle actually buffer all the address lines and the read-write, ref and cast from the CoCo up into these chips, but not the data lines. And it seemed to work just fine. I used it and it worked great. I have no idea where that board is now. But it had a lot of pins on the bottom to plug it in. So it was the start of the no-can stuff.
Yeah, and I actually had one of your no-can 3s with the 8 meg upgrade, and you later took the design up to 64
Right.
meg and higher, if I remember correctly, too.
Right. So this is how I got started. And you'll notice that it is a repack. There's a power supply on the left.
Yeah,
And the
XT.
heat sink and transistor are missing. The keyboard's on a very long cable. I've had those keyboards up to more than 3 feet with even just a regular PIA, not the custom chip, and it still worked fine. And of course, you can tell I got a different ROM in there. And then on the right, you see a little piece of Y cable that was actually plugged into the bottom of the game slot, which is needed because then it flips the pin rows over so they come out correct. So if you want to solder square pins onto your game card or whatever, you just plug it into the IDE cable Y slot and you're home free.
And I mentioned too, like this is your first prototype of it. So when you got to the point where you're doing the no-can 3, which had 8 meg of RAM, not just 2, and you had 16550 high-speed serial ports on it, and you had your turbo mode and a light, and the board was probably about half the size of this or less.
Right. Well, these are probably 256K sims, so, and you had to use the multiple chip ones. You couldn't use the 3 chip ones because I'm actually using the refresh off of the CoCo and not a custom refresh circuit.
Yeah, that was the 8 versus 9-bit sims, if I remember.
Yeah, 8 or 9, either one. He just ignored the extra one, just grounded the inputs.
Hey, for those of you who've seen the no-can 3, because I brought it to the CoCo Fest before, and I've since given it to Jim Brain. It's kind of a historical thing because this was the first one that broke the disto 2 meg barrier once you got up to the 8 meg versions and higher. So that was the ultimate memory upgrade for a CoCo 3 for decades. And now there's talk that the Gimme X and stuff will start supporting 8 meg and higher again, but based on Paul's work from this far back.
Right. Yeah, when I got the 64 megabyte version, I was going to go bigger, but there was too much other stuff going on in my life. It just didn't work out. But
yeah, and I remember Robert Galt actually wrote some RAM disk drivers to handle the 64 meg, so there actually was some software support for it. It was a hell of a big RAM disk.
I actually used it, and so it was a 62 megabyte RAM disk, and it took forever to fill it. I tried filling it once. It just took hours and hours. I just gave up.
Yeah, doing a 62 meg memory copy on the CoCo at 1.78 megahertz, not the quickest thing in the world.
No, not. But once you get it filled, it's actually faster than like a hard drive or a floppy drive or any of that stuff, because the driver that Robert wrote was pretty quick.
Yep, especially on a 6 or a 9, because then you can actually do a TFM, just between memories. So
right.
So I got it all loaded in, but then my dad turned my CoCo off.
Yeah,
save that electricity.
That was the one thing. That was the one thing about the 8 meg and the 16 meg, those other ones. It had that auto refresh circuit. So even if you did a reset and didn't hold it down, but just pushed reset, went right back into Nitrous 9, it was still there. So you could just reboot it and reinitialize it, and all your stuff was still in RAM disk. It never went away. As long as you didn't turn the power off, it kept it, even though you had to reboot.
Yeah, I remember Alan DeCock used that too. I don't think he had one of your boards. I think he did that on 512, but he had a RAM drive that was set up specifically to do the same sort of thing where you could reboot. And, if you crashed, if you're testing something, as long as you had overwritten the RAM drive, it would still be intact on your next reboot.
Hey guys, I noticed.
And I used that.
I noticed when now that I have 2 megabyte on my CoCo, and you have the SDC in, and you play something and you turn it off and turn it back on again right away, you get nothing, just an OK prompt. You have to actually wait a little bit so the memory will clear, and then it'll
The
work.
distos did that too.
Yeah. Not used to that.
Yeah.
And then the last story we've got for today, Kevin Ray posted a picture of his July 1983 Rainbow magazine, which was a second anniversary edition. And this was the one that had the famous record inside of it.
Who posted this? I thought this was Randy Weaver. Or Kevin Ray, never mind. I thought it was Randy Weaver who posted one of these. Never mind. Okay. I was
So I have this issue too, and I had the record, but I've long lost it. But basically, it was a little pull out. You would actually peel it off, and there's these little flexi discs, and that little spot on the right hand side of the inside there that you had to put a coin on to keep it level because it would just bounce around too much and give you eye errors. But basically, if you had a record player that had a headphone jack on it, you could just plug in the black plug from your cassette deck into the record player, and then you could play and load these 3 basic programs in without even having a cassette tape at all. So it was kind of a neat idea. I know the Commodore 64 and a few other systems also had times where they did the flexi disc type thing to load programs too. I can't remember if Rainbow was the first. It was the first one I'd heard of at the time. Maybe somebody else beat them to
Was
it.
this
But it was
stereo by any chance?
No.
High fidelity.
And how long would the record last? How many times could you play it?
I don't have a clue. Like I said, I
Not
lost
very
mine very
many.
early
Yeah.
on, so it.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought Randy Weaver. Because when I was reading some of these, maybe Randy had posted before or after or commented on it, but I don't know why I had Randy Weaver's on the brain
I think
there.
in the comments there they say that you can only play it through a few times before the needle tears it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not have that problem. I had it for over a year, and I used it dozens of times, and I didn't have that problem.
Oh, good.
So I think it just maybe depended on the quality of your stylus or whatever on the record player.
But I believe that he did mention that these are all in the. Are they in the archive? The games?
Yes.
Okay.
They're also on the Rainbow and Disc and Rainbow, on Tape for that
Disc.
same issue. But
Yeah.
this was a
okay.
way for people that did not have Rainbow and Tape or Rainbow Disc.
Right.
To save you having to type in the
it's
programs.
definitely a cool collectible. It's something
Yeah.
that you don't see every day.
And Rainbow did this. The first anniversary is when they first went and got color covers and stuff. So that was their first anniversary. And then for the next few anniversaries, they tried to do unique things every time. So like the second anniversary was the record. There was another one that did Scratch and Sniff Adventures, where those 6 boxes where you'd play the adventure game and said, you find something, scratch box 3 to figure out what it is. And, oh, that's pine needle smell. That must be pine needles and that type of thing. So they did a lot of innovative things on their anniversary editions for a few years.
That's augmented reality, man.
Hope they didn't have any horse.
I don't know. That's what they probably smell like now after you scratch them up from 30 years. I don't know.
I remember Mad Magazine had an issue where they had a disc like this.
Yeah, they had multiple ones. They had the one with the super spectacular day where they had different endings every time you played it.
Yeah, it had eight interwoven spirals, and wherever the needle would drop, it would play one of the 8 versions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Yeah. I wore mine out quickly.
What was the thing at the end of the Mad Magazine where you folded it? You folded.
Yeah,
the
Al
disc?
Jaffe did the
fold in.
Yeah, yeah. Did Rainbow ever do anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that was the last news story for the day. So
Time to wake up.
Hey, Mikey. He's back. Mikey's back. All right. Well, we had some internet interrupt us a few times. I've been having some internet issues, and the new service that I switched to hasn't necessarily fixed that problem completely.
So does
now you can complain now.
Does the new Windows have a new blue screen? Because I saw this blue screen come up and it said your PC needs to reboot, and it's a really low res screen. It's blue. It's a light blue. Has anybody seen that?
With the smiley face?
On Windows 10. Windows 10, yeah, it does do that.
Yeah. First time I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's a lighter blue than the usual Windows blue screen.
We'll restart your computer for you.
It looks like an 8-bit screen too, because it's all changed.
That's a daily thing for me.
Yeah, really? I haven't had a blue screen since Windows. Oh gosh.
Almost every time I stream, it was a blue screen of death.
Yeah, I tend to use green screens now. They work better.
All right, well, we've covered project updates and acquisitions, but before we sign off, does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? And what I'll do while you guys are thinking about that, I just got a message from Brian Joyce. He says he did an update. You remember the, what did David Ladd break, this thing where the Cartman's head exploded? You remember that one? He says he's done a new one, but he probably put it in my old Google Drive, which I have to find. So I'll look for that. So I don't know if you guys have any last parting thoughts or things you want to talk about. Talk amongst yourselves while I'll see if I can find this file that Brian Joyce sent us.
So does anybody know, do you think it's possible to take, if you have a, a Coco VGA machine and you have this VG6 screen, do you think it's something you can put in your SDC and have it boot up like the Coco 3 can? Is it possible, do you think?
Well, what loads that program? Is it a basic program that loads it?
It's a viewer program. No, it's
yeah, there is a viewer
make your
program.
auto-exec.bas run that program, no?
There is a viewer program for those SG6 files. I have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and the idea is basically, I think, would be to take the program that's in that and somehow modify it so that it runs with the screen. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, the auto-exec.bas is what runs when the STC boots up, so have that run whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a file you rename that normally you run SDC Explorer with.
Yeah, no, Ron knows that. He's already doing that. He's doing that.
I've done it.
Oh, you could run your screen and then have your screen.
Yeah, you just
change
need to get. I'll see if I can't find it. My stuff's not running right now, so maybe reach out to Brendan Donahue as well. Because he gave me one to load the
VG6 file is different than a bin file.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, there's your problem.
It's a different image, and so it needs a different image display program. But that program exists because Brendan gave it to me. I have it. But you're going to probably be able to get it from him quicker than you get it from me because I'm going to have to find the Coco, plug it in, find the file. So if you just message him on Discord or on Facebook, he can get it to you. Yeah, it will be a basic program. It'll be just like instead of loading Sockmaster's image viewer, you're going to load Brendan's SG6 viewer and put it in your startup file.
Well, yeah, that I've done. I have the viewer. That's cool. But what I'm saying is, is there a program that you can make a VG6 into a bin file so you can tell it BASIC to execute the file just like a bin file?
Oh, you want to make it a program where you can do a load M exec?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then have it in the SDCX.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Now, again, that's probably a question for Brendan Donahue.
Okay.
Because he gave it to me. He gave me something in BASIC to load it up and display it. But I'm sure
the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure where Brian put the file right now because the way I'm using Google Drive is different. So we'll have to give that offline. I would like to see the new thing that he sent. But what we could do, just for grins and giggles, is that I can play the old one because I have the old one. And the Floppy Life commercial. Yeah, since Brian's here, Extructus Productions, we'll play that. We'll come back for parting thoughts. But yeah, the whole what did David Ladd break, and then the Floppy Life, and then we did get some professional voiceovers on that Floppy Life commercial too for those who listen to the audio podcast version of the show for their listening pleasure too. So how about a little bit of David Ladd as we celebrate the life and times of David Ladd, and may God rest his soul. He's still with us, but we're going to celebrate his life and times anyway. So hold on. Oh yeah! Are you excited? I'm excited. Oh, it's gonna be a great show. I can feel it. Let's get our Cocos going.
And now these messages.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day. This is Nick Marionettes. Crikey. After you buy Gunstar...
Stop right there.
Okay, fine. After you bought Gunstar, go ahead and buy your copy of the Coco Fest edition of...
Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
It's a quarter of the quality at half the cost.
ESP 8266-01 RS232 TTL Wi-Fi network, 4-pin DIN, Fitbanger, DB9, PC IP, drive wire.
This portion of CoCoTALK brought to you by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex, thought to help you with your floppy life.
In a world where hard drives rule and floppies are superfluous, one man, one legend, one old fart dared to learn the floppy and took the brunt of jokes. Then all hard drives and SSDs died, but the floppy survived. And the only man who knew floppies became a legend once more. Floppy Life, the David Ladd story. This summer, straight to YouTube.
8-slot MPI, floppy drive, Coco SDC, Sound Speech Pack, Orchestra 90, RS232 pack, modem pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI. David Ladd. Oh, I'm much happier breaking stuff.
And there we go. There's our tribute to David Ladd. You know him.
Yay.
You love him. The Lord of the Floppy. The Duke of Digital Data. Sir David Ladd. Great show
Duke of the
today, guys.
Distrav.
Yes. Have we missed anything? Is there anything that we have withheld from the audience that we now need to
I think
unleash?
the only thing we've missed, I think, is useful content. But other than that,
Yeah, that's it.
Big old dumpster fire.
That's like every week.
Yes. Paul T. Barton, thank you for being here today, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Bet. We love it.
Ron Delvaux has been here.
Yep.
Ron, how you doing? For those of you who are not sure what to be for Halloween this year, you might want to run out and get yourself the Ron Delvaux costume. I got mine. I got my Timberman beard that you can put on. And no actual trees were harmed in the making of this beard, just so you guys know. We've had David O'Connor here from Australia. Crikey. Thanks for being here, David.
Dave's here,
Yay.
man.
I haven't been piping up as much as normal because of this stinking 11-day migraine, but I love being on the show. So
We love having you. Reminds me of the South Park episode. Hey man, you're not wearing your mask over your nose. It's just a chin diaper, right? So that's what I mean. It's a chin diaper. From the Great White North. L. Curtis Boyle has brought us Game On news and regular news and snoozy news. Thank you for being here, Curtis.
I exist only to serve Michael's nap time.
That way, and also to help Ken Reichard get his itch.io up to your standards. So
finally, but he did. So I have to give him credit.
He got with it. The man whose name is so nice, he just can't get tired of hearing it. He needs more and more segments.
Oh, bring it on.
Yes, it is. Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta. Thank you for being
You're
here.
bad for my ego in a good way, or
That
good for
is
a bad way.
I just can't quit you, Nick. So,
why do you think it is we don't have any women on this show, man?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Well, obviously, because Nick Marotta stole them all after we published his old, Teen Beat magazine.
That's right.
Isn't he dream?
They just contact him directly, bypass the rest of us.
Not even half a woman or anything.
Yeah, and for those who forget what it's like to,
We've got David.
Some of you are married, at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Brian Weasler with your collection of goodies. Thanks for being here again, sir. Always a pleasure to have you.
Of awe.
You're welcome.
Maybe we could have a wife show and everybody's wife or girlfriend could come on.
Yeah.
That'd be
That
cool.
would be a short episode.
Plenty about how much you guys spent on your Coco stuff.
Coco Wives Club.
Maybe
Time for another edition of
Can
Good
you
Idea.
believe he
Bad
bought
Idea.
this crap?
No, you
How
know
many
what?
dumpsters did it take to get rid of all of it?
You know what?
Right.
I think we can combine this with a virtual Coco Fest and maybe make it an auction. So the Coco Wives auction.
Are they going to be auctioning off the Coco stuff and be
No,
auctioning
the
off
wives.
the
We're
husbands?
gonna
Like,
auction
What
wives.
this crap is, I'm getting rid of it now. Who wants it?
You
Up
can
next,
ask your wife or
ne-
girlfriend,
yes.
what was your first game you played on the color computer? You never had a chance to play. Your husband kept playing
I
it.
remember
and you never-
what
Coco
Game On
Widows.
game that was, the first one.
Chet Simpson, thanks for being here as always.
Yep.
All that you do. Michael Furman, thank you for staying awake during the news today. That was very nice of you.
Oh yeah, I actually learned something. Hey, I have one question about the about this week's game. So come back to me for the question.
Okay. Rick Euland, thanks for being here and for all those cool pictures of all those Cocos you're working on. That's good stuff.
A pleasure as always, and now I must re-enter the 4th level of KiCad.
Jason Reichard, I'm sure you're working on another product involving a Switch at some point in time.
Oh, yes, Steve.
Are you excited about toggle switches? I know I am.
I am so excited about toggle switches. I've got a whole drawer full of them over here ready to go.
Can they change our lives?
Oh, yes.
Why are your drawers full of switches?
Mark Bosley.
I have a problem.
Yep. I just got to say thanks to Curtis. I really appreciate the cold front you're sending me.
You're welcome anytime.
So I got to get out and mow the yard before it gets here.
Okay. Alan Murphy, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, man, for not having a topic, it sure does generate a whole lot of
Not a hot air. This
time
balloon.
fill. Yeah.
Yes, it
I'd
does.
hate to see what happened if we had a topic.
Oh, God forbid.
That's when we have the 6-hour shows.
Yes. Of course, we saved the best for last. The creator of the trash can. The best part of Nitrous 9 was created by Nicholas Marentes, the trash can. Thank you, Nick, for being here. We look forward to the 19th game you'll be cranking out this year.
Stop right there.
Still have all of November and all of December, so I expect
That's
to
it.
see one
Yeah,
more.
we need.
Another 3 games.
Maybe you could do a cheap semi-graphic knockoff of something. You never know. So,
I just told my wife they're going to have a wife's version of CoCoTALK. You want to do it? She said, no.
It's going to be a common answer.
Yeah.
Did you
Two
take
letters,
that
one
long to
word.
think
That
about
sounds
it?
about right.
No.
and to our viewers in the audience, Brian Joyce has been here. Frodo has been here. Daryl has been. Oh, I can't scroll back any further because I kept losing the stream. But we've had a lot of people in the live chat today watching the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing this god-awful experience with us all. We appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Start playing Rampage, the game for next week. And say goodbye, everybody.
Okay.
Everybody, see you next week.
Hey, everybody.
I'll ask my question later.
Wait, Michael Furman.
Mikey.
Michael, go ahead. Michael, go ahead.
Is Rampage one of those games that needs to do some like bank switching thing?
I don't think so. That's just 128. It was a cartridge, so it was 128K.
I'm not sure if it had a bank switching.
I don't think it did.
Not,
I think it was a 32K ROM. That's the only thing I remember.
Because I tried the disc that's on the archive.
We can't. We're still live. Okay, I'll press the button now. We can ask that question off the air. All right, we're pressing the button. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.